Hey guys, this is Miss Harrington, and today we're going to be talking about our grammar skill for the week, which is perfect verb tenses. Now, I know that we are all used to hearing about past, present, and future tense verbs, and this is a lot like that. The only difference is we're going to be adding a helping verb to our main verb or our action verb to show exactly when an action is being completed. So let's look at this introduction first. Just follow along with me here. This very first sentence is important. It says the perfect verb tenses tell about actions that happened, that will happen, or that may still be happening. Now, when I look at this sentence, right here where it says actions that happened, this is talking about verbs that we are going to call past perfect. The next part of the sentence where it says that will happen, well, I see that word will, so I know that has to have something to do with future. So these are the verbs that we're going to call future perfect. And then the last part of that sentence where it says that may still be happening, well, that means it's going on right now. So these verbs we're going to call, I'm just going to draw a little arrow here, perfect present or present perfect. All right, so let's keep reading. They are made by joining a form of the helping verb have, so that could be have, had, or has, with the past form of a main verb. So when you put a helping verb with your main verb or your action verb, your main verb will always be written in past tense. That's important to remember. Together, the helping verb and the main verb make up a verb phrase. So right below, it's giving us an example of a verb phrase. So the sentence says, workers had installed new swings in Grant Park. So your helping verb is had, and it's working with your main verb, your action verb, which is installed, and if you notice, in past tense. So these two verbs together are what we call a verb phrase. So now we're going to look at some examples of the three different perfect tenses. So you have present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect. So let's start with present perfect. It says the present perfect tense tells about an action that took place in the past and may still be happening. So the action was already started, but it's still going on. To form this tense, you can use has or have with the past form of the main verb. So this is important because present perfect is the only one where you have two different helping verbs that you could use. You could use has with your main verb, or depending on the sentence, you could use have with your main verb. So let's look at the example sentence. Volunteers have turned Grant Park into a beautiful spot. So in this sentence, especially right here, because our subject is plural, we use the helping verb have instead of has with our main verb. So these two verbs together, that verb phrase, makes the tense of this sentence present perfect. So let's look at the next example, and this is going to go over past perfect tense. Past perfect tense tells us about an action that was completed before another past action. So an action, just like past tense, that's already been completed. To form this tense, you have to use the helping verb had and only had with the past form of a main verb. So let's look at the example. Grant Park had become neglected, so people stopped going there. So you have had as your helping verb and become, which is the past tense of your main verb. So had become is your verb phrase that is in past perfect tense. All right, and then the last example goes over future perfect tense. This is when the when the sentence tells about an action that will be completed before another future action. So you basically have two actions that both have not been completed yet, but they will be completed. So to form this tense, you're going to use will have with the past tense form of that main verb. This one should be easy to remember because with any future tense verb, we're going to see that word will. The only difference is with future perfect, behind it, you're going to see will have. So look at this sentence. By next week, there's my clue that this has to be some sort of future tense, we will have cleared the park of trash. So they've started clearing the park, and by next week is when the action will actually be finished. So you have will have as your helping verb, and then you have cleared, which is your past tense form of the main verb or the action verb. And together they make our verb phrase that is future perfect tense. So now we're going to look at just a few practice problems on how to use it in a sentence. So for 1 through 4 here, it asks us to write the correct helping verb or verbs to form the perfect tense named in parentheses. The main verbs are already underlined. So when I go through these sentences, I see that I have the verb demanded, past tense, forgotten, come, rebuilt. All of those main verbs are in past tense because remember, your main verbs, when we're talking about perfect tense, will always be past tense. So the first sentence says, the park opened in 1991 after people blank demanded it. Well, it tells me I need to make this past perfect. Well, when I look back up at my notes, I only have one choice for a helping verb if it's past perfect, and that's going to be had. So I'm going to put had in the blank. So now the sentence says, the park opened in 1991 after people had demanded it. Let's look at number 2. Sadly, they blank forgotten how important the park is. This tells me I need it to be present perfect. Well, looking back up here at my notes, I really have two choices for present perfect. I could use has or I could use have. So let's look at our subject. Our subject is they. Well, that's plural. So it wouldn't make sense to say they has forgotten. So for this sentence, I'm going to say they have forgotten. Number 3. Now the day blank come to rebuild the playground. Well, it tells me it needs to be present perfect, and I see a clue word here now. That means it's happening in the present. So I've got to choose between has or have. Well, my subject, day, is singular. So in this sentence, I'm going to say has come because it wouldn't even sound right to say now the day have come. So we're going to put has in the blank. And the last example says by next summer, which tells me that's future because next summer hasn't happened yet, we blank rebuilt the entire playground. So we need future perfect. We only have one option, will have. So I'm going to put that in the blank. We will have rebuilt.